right? So the summary is we have done sum, average, max, count. We have done a few calculations. So we have percentage of column total, percentage difference, and then percentage running total. When you keep a date field, you saw that automatically they are grouped into year, month, and quarter. And that allows you to look at factors like seasonality and trend. Now, right now we have data only for a partial year. So we have 1 year and a part of the other year. So I want to open a different data set in which I have the data set for 4 different years with me. So let me quickly open this. All right. Now, slightly different data set. So I would like all of you to take 2 minutes, just like you did earlier, and get comfortable with the type of data that we have with us. Again, we have 10,000 records. So in the previous example, there were 700. Now we have 10,000 records with us. Order ID, order date, ship date, shipping mode, customer ID, customer name, segment, country, city, state, postal code, region, product ID, category, subcategory, product name, sales, quantity, discount, profit. So basically we have 4 years, order date and shipping date, 13, 14, 15, and 16. Then we have customer ID and customer name. Then we have the segment, the product ID, the category, subcategory, and product name. These are the product details. Country, city, state, postal code, region are the geographic details. And finally, we have sales quantity, discount, and profit. Okay, now, again, we'll make a pivot table first. And I want to show you how you can look at things like seasonality. So I'll put order date in rows. I will put sales in value. Now, obviously, that gives you the year, quarter, and the month. Now, we don't really need the month. We don't need the quarter, so I can remove the quarter. And I can put the year in columns. So I get a data set like this, which means that I can see all the 12 months for all the 4 years. So there are 48 months in a study period. The shortcut to create a chart on Excel, whether it's a normal chart or a pivot chart, is Alt F1. So if you press Alt F1, you can create a normal chart like this, but we want to change it. So I will go to design and then change chart type. And we want to change it to a trend line like this, which looks brilliant. So very clearly it is telling us that these are the 4 years that we have. And if you look at the insights, look carefully. If you look at November, right? So November of 2016 was the best month, right? But again, if you look at different months, for example, if you're looking at different years, so for example, if I'm looking at 2013, for 2013, September was also a very good month. So look at the interesting insight. If you look at September and November for 2013, they were very close to each other. Look at this. But if you look at September versus November for 2016, which is my current year, there is a big difference like this. And that is exactly what we want to find out. Why is it that there is a difference between what we did 4 years back when we started the business and today, right? And again, you can see that sometimes in 2016, you actually dropped below. That means that you're doing lesser than what you did in the previous year. So in 2015, I had done it just a little bit more than 2016, like this, right? Again, if you look at the month of December, again, you would notice that 2016 has been a little lesser than 2015. And these are the sort of insights that you would want to present to the client or to the management. In addition to this, we can also keep different slicers. So I can select my table, go to pivot table analyze, and then select insert slicer. I will insert a slicer for my region, and I will also insert a slicer for my segment. So this will give me 2 controls like this. Let's place it on the right side. And you notice now the chart has become interactive. We can choose any segment and any region like this. So for example, if you want to compare different regions, you look at Central, you notice in Central there was a outlier. So the September month of 2013 was an outlier because the sales was high to a point of being meaningless. I mean, there was no reason for the sale to be that high. Again, if you look at East, you notice that the overall trend has been to go up as the month progresses. Similarly, in South, there was one outlier here and then one outlier is here in 2016, right? If you look at West, I would say West is much more balanced, where the data doesn't go peaks and low very frequently, right? So it's much more balanced. Okay. Any questions on pivots, anybody? Otherwise, we'll come to Power Pivot. So I have an electricity blackout. Let me see if I can connect this to my backup. If I'm not able to connect this to backup, then I believe we will have to stop in another 10-15 minutes as long as my laptop lasts. And then we can probably start a little earlier tomorrow to cover up for the lost time. Let me just see if it works in backup. Just give me 20 seconds. All right. So the good news is that the backup seems to be working for now. I think we will just be able to manage to squeeze through for the next 50 minutes or so. Anyway, if at all there is any bottleneck, I will let you know. Right. So I was asking you, is there any question that you guys have? Otherwise, we can move over to Power Pivot. Anyone, basis your experience of working on pivots? All good? Okay. Now, of course, if you want to work with Pivot Table Analyze tab, no, Pivot Table Analyze is available on 2013, 16, and 19 as well. You will have to click on a cell inside the pivot table, and that is where the Pivot Table Analyze button will come. If you're working on any option before 2013, then it will be called Pivot Table Options. How did I plot the trend graph? I just do that once again. I hope the table is clear. We just put the year in rows and the year in column and the month in rows. Then I go to Pivot Table Analyze and I insert a pivot chart in the top right corner. Once I've done that, we can select a trend line and that's it. Just select the first one. You get your trend line like this. Right? Okay. So what we'll do is we will move over to Power Pivot now. And you will have to give me a moment to find the perfect example for all of you. So let me go to my course on pivot tables and okay, I can't find that here. Not a problem. Let's yeah, I can't seem to find it. Nevertheless, I'll just create a small data set for you. The unique value for a pivot. What do you mean when you say a unique value? Pivot in any case shows you the unique value only,
Like it shows the aggregated values. Like if we want, like if we have a customer ID and the credit limit
You
column,
keep it in
then
rows. You don't put it in value. If you put something in value, then obviously it will get aggregated, right? For example, if I want to put my, let me show you. I'm putting my region and my sales. Now you're saying I want to see if I put my customer ID in column, then obviously it is going to show the count, right? But if you put your customer ID in rows, then it will show you the customer ID.
like for a particular customer, if the credit limit is 1,000, then we need the unique value in the row, means in the column for that customer. Like
Explain to me what is the data set. So you're saying you have the customer name, right? And you
yeah,
have some values here, which is what? The
yeah,
same value.
yeah, same value.
Okay.
Now
And
you want to visualize this.
then you
Yeah,
have B with
the
a
same
different
thing.
value, is it? Like this, you mean?
Yeah,
And what is
yeah,
the result that you want?
for 8,000 in pivot.
You just want to know that A has a value called 1000.
Yeah, like means the table is much more complex, but this is how, like there is a there is a column of credit limit, but that is fixed. If a multiple loan is being transacted by for a customer,
No, no. See, you
then
can't
the
explain
credit.
it to me verbally, no. Vivek, you will have to explain to me what the data is like. You'll have to tell me either you send me the data or you tell me I'll create the table for you. Verbally, how can I answer your question? I will also
Okay,
need
okay,
to
sure. I'll send you the
send it
data.
to me. We can at least
Yeah,
try it once. So, what is it called? It is called credit limit. What is the limit?
yeah. And what is the disbursement value? Uh,
You know what? I think
how
you
much
should send me
the
the data. Send me the data. I'll have a look at it. When we start the session tomorrow, I'll answer this question.
okay, sure.
All right. So everyone, this time we have our region, and then we have the country, and then we have the country, and we have the sales amount. So we're taking a simple data set where we have Asia with two countries. So we have India and China, and then we have North America, which has, let's say, Canada and Mexico. So here's my question. If the sales value is given like this, I have India, China, Canada, Mexico coming a few times. And then, of course, India is coming, let's say, a few times more, and Mexico is coming once, and then Canada is coming two times, and then India is coming once more. And then some random sales values are here. Here's my question. How do you find the total sales for every region? Like right now, the total sales is sum of this, which is 1664. Fair enough? I want you to tell me what is the total sales for every region. How would you do it? Anyone? Okay, let's see. So group by, how are you going to group by? Excel doesn't have a function called group by. And plus in any case, the data is in two different tables. So even if I could somehow do a group by, how would I do it for two different tables? See, everybody, what we have, this is a dimension table and this is a fact table, right? I hope all of you know what dimension and facts are. If you don't, please study this. So you can simply go online and you can type dimension versus fact, and you can see what is a dimension table and what is a fact table. These are not Excel um, uh, concepts that I'm sharing with you. These terminologies are related to relational databases. So if you're working with SQL, Power Query, Tableau, any tool, you need to know what dimensions are, what facts are. Okay. So a dimension basically is a descriptive attribute. For example, the region and country is a descriptive attribute. It tells me which country belongs to which region. But a country as sales is a fact table because The fact table is the number of facts. That means it is telling me transactions. We sometimes also call it a transaction table. And dimension versus fact is very important because when you're creating relational databases, you need to be able to map different tables with each other, for which you will need to, even if you're working on SQL, you will need to have a key, right? And that key will be dependent on the fact in the dimension table. So this is our dimension, this is a fact, we know that. Can we make a combined pivot? Okay, some responses have come. Vivek, we of course want to do a right outer join. My question is, how are you going to do that? Where is the option on Excel? Excel only has VLOOKUP. Excel doesn't have different types of joins in it. No? You're telling me about what you would do on SQL, but we can't do that on Excel.
In Power Query, we can do that.
Power Query, we can do that, absolutely. But we're not focused on Power Query at the moment. Because the reason is we want to combine the table. We just don't want to transform the table, right? We don't want to create a third table right now. We just want to create a relationship. So the answer is absolutely right. Of course, we can do it in Power Query, but I don't want to do that right now. Because in Power Query, see, you will have to do a join. You will not get a relationship view where you can drag and drop what you get on Access and SQL, right? So, all right. So what we need is we need to use something called Power Pivot. Now on your computers, Power Pivot would not be available, but not to worry. Power Pivot is available on every version of Excel starting from 2013. How do you enable it? You will have to click on File, then click on Options. In Options, you select Add-ins. In Add-ins, you select Component Add-ins, which is COM add-ins, COM. And when you click on Go, you will notice there are two add-ins that you will have to select. One is called Power Pivot. The other is called Power Map. Power Map is basically 3D maps that you can create on Excel. Both of these are already there in Excel. You will just have to enable it by selecting these two. Okay. Once you have done this, Power Pivot will appear as a new tab. And if you look at Insert, Power Map will appear like this, which is called a 3D map. We will focus on 3D maps later. Let's see how this works. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to convert both my data sets into a table. So Insert, Table, and OK. Same thing. Let me also rename this. So I'll call this my region. And I'm going to convert this into a table as well. Insert, Table. And we will rename this into our sales. So what we want to do right now is to okay. So what we want to do right now is to merge both these pivot tables into a common table. How do you do that? Watch very carefully. If I insert a pivot table from the first table, insert pivot table, there is an option that says add this data to the data model. Now, usually we never select this option, but I want you to select it. And this is not a new option. This has been around for 8 years now, since 2013 office. What it does is when you select this and you press OK, you will notice that in the pivot table that is created, there will be an active tab and there will be an alt tab. And in the alt tab, you notice I can see both my tables, region and sales. This is how you can combine two pivot tables into a single one. Now, how did Excel know that the sales table also had to be brought into this? Because of the fact that these were tables, you did not have to select them manually, right? And if I select the region from here and I select the sales from here, very smartly, you would notice that what we are doing is we are selecting one column from one table and the other column from the other table. That means I'm selecting region from here and sales from here, which is great, right? Which means I can now create a common pivot table that will have all the columns in it. But the problem is, if you notice carefully, the problem is that the results are not coming correctly. It is showing me 1664 for both the regions, which is clearly incorrect. Why? Because there is no relationship. How does Excel know that India belongs to Asia and Canada belongs to North America? We know it because we are using our intelligence to say, okay, I can see it. But how does Excel know that? To do this, there is an option called automatic detection. Please never ever do this. Never ever under any circumstance do this. It is very dangerous. It might completely crash your model. You will not even know if you're getting something incorrectly or not. Never ever use this. The first thing you should always do is close this, because that's not what you want to do. What we want to do is to go to Power Pivot and then create a model manually. So I click on Manage, which is the first option. And in Manage, we can see that both the tables are there. So I have region and sales, right? So I can see both the tables. I click on the diagram view in the top right corner. And very nicely, I can now do a join between or a merge between both the tables. So I can select country, drag it and put it on country. And what have we created? We have created a one-to-many relationship. So one means that in this table, every country is mentioned one time because it's a dimension table. And this is a fact table. That means that every country is mentioned numerous times. Once you have done this and you close and go to Excel, you will notice that the result will come automatically. So that is how you go to Power Pivot and you create a pivot table on your own, merging multiple tables into one. Like I've done two. Theoretically, you could have had a third table as well, right? Just to complete the example, let's say that we have another dimension in which I said that this is again a dimension table where I'm saying that Asia and North America are written as AS and NA, just as an example, okay? So this is my region and this is what? This is my code. So I'll make this into a table. We'll change the table name to code. We know what to do. We want to send this data to Power Pivot now. How do we do that? Because the model is already created, which means that I don't want to create another model. I want to add this table to the existing model. On Power Pivot, we can say, add the table to the worksheet data model. So I'll click on add to data model. And you notice the third table also gets added. This is also a dimension. And how do I connect it? I will say that my region and my region are connected, which is a one-to-one relationship. Oh, sorry, a one-to-many relationship, because every code has a region that can be mentioned several times. And how does this entire model help us? Now I can go and in my final pivot table, you will notice that the code is also there. I can select the code and put it, not the region, I'll select the code and put it here. And you can now see that Asia is 935 and North America is 729. So basically we have three tables which can be on the same sheet. It can be on different sheets. It can even be on different workbooks. It can even happen that one data source is in Excel and the other one is a text file and the other one is a XML file. Because when you go to Power Pivot, here you can access different data sources. So if you notice, I can directly connect to SQL Server. Of course, I can import an access model. Or if I want to, I can also click on other sources and there are different sources that I can get data from. Right? Okay, questions, anyone? There's one more thing I want to show you, how to create a calculation, but I'll explain that once we have, once you've asked all the questions. Right. So the steps were, we made a table, we made a pivot table, but when I made the pivot, if you remember, we made sure to select the data model. Then when I added the third table, I added it to the data model using Power Pivot. And then in Manage, I just made some lines to connect one table to the other. So Power Pivot is not an add-in. I mean, it sort of is an add-in, but it is already there in Excel. In 2016 and 19, you will just have to enable it. Like I said, you go to options and then you can enable it from add-ins. If you're working on older versions of Excel, then you will have to download and install it separately. So if you say download Power Pivot, right? For Excel 2013 and 2010, for 2013 and 2010, you'll be able to download it from the internet. Just check. Right. So if you notice, everybody, it is there in versions of, I'm sorry, it is there in all versions of 2013, Professional Plus and Standalone. It might not be there in the student version. I'm not sure if 2013 has a student version or not. You'll have to check that. Of course, it's there in 16 as well, and it is there in 19 as well. Right? And in 2010, it did not ship, so you had to download it separately, right? Oh, it's not there in Home as Student. Yeah, that's what I thought. So Home as Student, I think Home as Student 19 probably is there, Home as Student, but 2013 and 16, it will not be there. Yeah. See, unfortunately, it is complicated because for every single thing in Excel, you have to go back and double check whether it is available, in which versions is it available. But that's the effort you will have to put in. All right. Now, whoever has worked on pivots, everybody must have told you that you cannot do calculations on pivots, but you can. You can use Power Pivot calculations, and these are called measures that you see on the left side. Now, measures do not use Excel formulas, right? So they use a different expression language called DAX, right? DAX is an expression language. So, one second. So if you look at DAX, DAX is a language that is available on SQL Server, Azure, Excel 16 and 19, and Power BI as well. So if you're learning it, it is not going to help you only with Excel. It will help you with all these different technologies as well, right? So don't feel that, oh, it's only Excel that we're using it for. If you want to work with Power BI in the future, and you will have to, you have no choice but to learn DAX. DAX as a language is very different. It is very similar to Excel, which means that it has different functions and operators in it. But if you notice, the functions are very different, and you have many more complex functions compared to what you have available on Excel, right? So you can see the list here. This is not the official website, but this is the one that I recommend. It's called dax.guide, right? I'll just put it on the Excel. 1 second. So you want to go to dax.guide. Let's see how this works. So a simple example, everybody, we want to find the target for the next year, which is a 10% year-on-year growth. That means I want to multiply every number by 1.1. How do we do this? I will go to Power Pivot and I will create a measure. A measure is a DAX measure. New measure. The new measure is called target. And the formula that I will, and remember, these formulas are not Excel formulas, so these are DAX formulas. So I can say the sum of sales, one second, into 1.1, like this, okay? And once you've done this, what happened? 1 second. You will notice the target will come automatically. And the best part is that the target is coming inside the pivot table, and it will appear with the FX symbol in the pivot table field list, so that you know that it is a function that you created on your own. Any questions on this? Okay, so Vivek, you can do it in a normal pivot, but calculated field is very limited because in a calculated field, you can only do basic operations, right? I assume this is what you're referring to, right? The calculated field. And calculated field will create 100 other problems in your pivot tables as it is. So yeah. So just forget about it. I've never used calculated fields in my entire life. It's there for simple operations, just a multiplication, division like that, but not for other things. Okay, don't use it for other things. Anything else, anyone? Can I show the working again? Aisha, could you just tell me which part would you like me to show you again? All I did was I went to, okay, fine. I'll give you a recap to everyone. Three tables. The first one is called region. The second one is called sales. So when we made a pivot table, what we did was we made sure that when we click on insert and pivot table, we selected the option called add this data to the data model. Once we did that, notice that both the tables have come, region and sales. But we wanted to create a relationship. So we went to pivot table analyze. We went to power pivot. We went to manage. And then in manage, we went to the diagram view on the top right corner. And here we created this relationship between country and country. Similarly, we created a relationship between the region and region so that all the three tables are now linked to each other. The dark spot, sure. And in the dark spot, all I did was, let me create one more calculation. Wait. That's strange. Why is this not working? Give me a second, everybody. Canada, India, China, Mexico, Asia, North America. Why is it saying there's no relationship? Yeah, it's working correctly. Yeah. Okay. Let's say that you want to see the value of China only. Okay. Please watch very carefully. Measure, new measure. I will create a measure saying only China. What will this value be? I will say calculate. So what is calculate? It is an expression in a context modified by filter. So I want to keep a filter of my choice, and you will see how that works. What do we want to calculate? The sales, which is the sum of sales. And what is the filter? The filter is that the country should be equal to China. And what will the final result be? 1 second, everybody. I'm sorry, the text is too small. I have to zoom in. 1 second. I forgot the parentheses after this. Right. So if you notice, I've said calculate. So basically, in English words, I would say that I want Excel to tell me the sales amount only for China in every single row. That means it should not look at any other country. What does it do? It will show me the value only for China here, right? So if you notice, China is 170 and that same number is represented here as well. Now, this is very helpful because sometimes in a table, you want to show a value that is not modified by filters. So despite, let me remove the code. Let's not keep it more complicated than it needs to be. If you notice, despite the fact that I have a Canada, China, India, Mexico filter, which means the countries there in my rows, it is only showing me China here, which is very helpful because when you're presenting your data, you can show the country-wise value and the China only value next to each other. Right? And if you want to see the calculations, you can just go to manage measures and you can see a list of all the calculations that you have created like this. See, the interface in Excel isn't very good. In Power BI, it is brilliant. In Excel, it's very primitive. And unfortunately, they haven't updated it over the last many years. But, in any case, now work is completely shifted to Power BI. So nobody does all these things on Excel anymore. If we have to do all this, I mean, we can, some basic calculations, but typically Power BI would be better suited to it. Cool. Questions? See, if you feel that you're able to understand all of it very well, you can't understand all of this in a day. DAX is like learning a new language altogether. Is there similarity to Excel? Sure. That way, Excel is also similar to programming languages. Does that mean that if you know Excel, you can learn JavaScript tomorrow? No, because it's a different language, right? If you know JavaScript, doesn't mean you know code Java. Of course not. So DAX has to be learned independently. I know it is a part of Excel, but at the same time, it's the scope of DAX is beyond Excel because it works on SQL Server as well. It works in Power BI as well. It works in Microsoft Azure as well. So it will take you a lot of time and a lot of practice to understand how DAX works. See, the problem in DAX is not that the functions are difficult. It's just that the functions can become really, really long. Okay. And let me just give you an example. Like if you try to write DAX new customers, just see the length of the formula, okay? And you will know what I mean. It starts very simple, okay? But then look at all this. Remember, it's not a programming language. We keep these white spaces in indent just for our sake. We don't need to put it. It's not like Python where the white space is required. We are putting it just because the function looks much cleaner. But you see how long these functions are becoming. Look at this one, for example. This is one single result. Lost customers is from here all the way up till here. Right? So that is where DAX is difficult. So there are two guys who are considered to be the gods of DAX. There is a guy called Marco Russo and there's a guy called Alberto Ferrari, right? They're not the guys who created DAX, but they're considered to be the gods of DAX. And you can just view their website. It's called sqlbi.com. And they've also written the official books on DAX. Right? So Marco Russo and Alberto Ferrari. So I just put it. So if you want to learn DAX, there's nothing better than this, but this is a very, very difficult website. So make sure not to do this in a hurry. Take your time. Great. Questions, anyone? Do you want to see something? If I go to measure and I create another measure and I say, difference from China, okay? Just watch this carefully. My difference from China is my sum of sales minus the China value, okay? So minus only China, and I want to divide everything by China. The difference comes like this, okay? But watch this. Even if I did it manually, show values as difference from, you will notice that we are getting the same result. Think about what I've done. Let me just copy the same format. Look at it this way. How is this coming? The difference from China? Because in fact, let me make it a percentage. That would be much better rather than an index value. How did I get these numbers? I did a right click, show values as percentage difference from China. Make sense? How am I doing the other one, this one? For this, I created a DAX measure, which is, first I calculated only China, which is, only China is calculate sum of sales country is equal to China. And then I said, distance from China is sum of sales minus only China divided by only China. Now you might argue and say, Havish, what is wrong with you? If we can do this in a single right click, right? If I can do this in a single right click, why the hell did you have to create two different measures to get the result? The reason is because when I create a measure, I have full control over it. I can manipulate it however I want. I can see the working behind it. But when you simply right click and you select a inbuilt option, you get the result, but you can't do anything with it. You either like it or you dislike it, right? So if you want to recreate anything that you see in this calculation, of course, you can replicate the same thing using a DAX measure as well, right? The only China thing, sure. See, 1 second. Let me just remove the only China bit and I'll do it once again. This will not come, that's okay. We'll create a new measure. I want to find only China. So one of the most powerful functions in DAX is called calculate. Calculate basically says you're calculating the sum, average, count, max, min, whatever it is, but a filter is also applied at the same time, which means if I simply say calculate sum of sales, what will happen? It will say, fine, you told me to calculate the sum of sales. I will tell you the sum of sales. Makes sense? Like if I only say calculate the sum of sales, you get the, 1 second. Let me remove the calculation. You would notice we're getting the same result as the original value. And if you say, Havish, what's the point of creating a measure that is calculating sum of sales? Because the sum of sales is the same as sum of sales. What is the point of writing a calculate function? The reason is that when you write a calculate function, I can then add multiple filters to it. So do you see every time I put a comma, I can add more filters? What is the first filter? I want to say that my country is equal to China. So that means that the sales will be calculated only for one country, which is China, right? Or for example, if you want to find an or, right? You want to say it is either China or something else, then you can give an operator as well, right? I won't get into that right now, but this is the basic idea. I hope that is clear now. Good, ask more questions. See, when you get your hands dirty and you try this on your own, it will start to make much more sense. But DAX is not something you should just do it in a hurry. Understand the fundamentals and see, learning the theory of DAX is very, very important. If you skip or skim on that, believe me, you will face a lot of trouble going forward. DAX really has to be understood. A lot of people make this mistake. They learn DAX like Excel. You know, let's do a formula, hit and trial, we learn it. It doesn't work like that. You really have to go to the Microsoft website, see the entire theory, understand what a measure is, what is a dynamic formula, you know, and they've explained in their defense, they've explained everything very well. It's just that you will have to, you know, go through, like this is the one I just showed you, that you can put a country and then select only one country. So like this, they have given you different examples like this. Right. Great. What else? Any other question, anyone? Okay, so Arun, you asked me whether there's a custom DAX add-on which simplify our queries. I'm not sure if it simplifies your queries or not, but there is something called, I can't seem to find it. It's called DAX Studio. So you can install that. It's created by Marco Russo and Alberto only. It's a free add-in. Again, I'm not sure if it will help you make simpler queries, but this is the only thing that is there. It's called DAX Studio. You can check this. Right. You can format the DAX queries. So there is a DAX formatter that allows you to put in unclean code and it automatically cleans it for you. So that is something you can try. Like if I, even though my query right now is very small, but let's try. Like if I put a query here and I format, it will, actually there's nothing here. To be honest, there's just a single line, no? So there's really nothing to change here. But anyway, when you work with more complex formulas, you will know what it is. Okay. Anything else? Anyone? So if you have Power Pivot, does that mean that pivots are redundant? Absolutely not. Pivots are pivots. Power Pivot is just some additional functionalities to a pivot table. That means that you are able to create your own calculations. It means that you're able to merge multiple tables together. It means that you can pull a data set from a different source other than an Excel file. Other than that, it's fundamentally a pivot table. There's no difference. Right? So don't think of this as something um, complementary to pivot. It is just an additional functionality to a pivot table. Questions, anyone? All okay? Great. So we have 15 minutes for today's session. So I don't want to start with a new topic. When we come tomorrow, we'll do Power Query and we'll do VBA. So we can probably do a smaller topic before we wrap up today's session. So let's do something fun. Let me think. Let me go through my files and see if I can find something. Or if you want to ask something of your own. Vivek, GoalSeek is, I mean, I'll show it. I don't want to say no to you, but GoalSeek is the most ridiculous thing. I mean, uh, anyway. So let's say you have your price per unit, which is 10. You have the quantity, which is 50. And then this is something that you want to change. You want to find out what is the quantity you should be selling. So this is my cost price, and my fixed price is 1000. Okay, and my selling price is 15. What do I need to find out as a result? Let me just color it yellow. I want to find out that if I want to earn, this is my result, if I want to earn 15,000 rupees as a profit, as my total top line, my revenue, how much quantity should I be selling? So how do I do this? My formula would be equal to, correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, I won't be wrong, but you can just see this. So my fixed price plus my cost price into quantity, right? This becomes my entire cost price. And then what would be the selling price? The selling price would be your SP into the quantity. So if you notice, if I sell 50 units, I'm incurring a loss of 750. Makes sense? If I'm uh, uh, selling 125 units, then I'm incurring a loss of 375. But if I'm selling 250 units, I'm earning a profit of 250. What do I need to find? I need to find what should be the quantity that I should sell, right? So what quantity to be sold, where the target is to earn, let's say 1250, something like this. So I can go to my target cell, which is C7. In data, we select what if analysis and then goal C, because my goal is that I need to go to 1250. So I will say that set cell C7 to 1250, and which is the cell that you want to change, that is C3. So what will Excel do? Excel will start putting different values in C3 till it reaches a value of 1250 in C7. So you notice it is doing the calculations and it tells me that Havish, you should be selling 450 units to be able to earn a result of 1250. Let's say you wanted to find out the target is your break even. So you don't want to earn any profit or any loss. How do you do this? Same thing. What if analysis, GoalSeek? I will say that my target this time is 0. Basically, I don't want to earn anything. I don't want to lose anything. And I want to change the unit. So it will tell me that you will have to sell 200 units to earn a break even, like this. How do we create games using Excel? Okay, that's a question I haven't seen ever. What do you mean, Prashu, when you say that you want to create a game using Excel? need some explanation on that. Okay, but before we come to the gaming bit, any questions on the goal seek, anyone? It was, see, people used to, any programmer, when they don't have any work to do, they end up creating games on programming languages. So it's just that, I mean, there is no practical application for it. So I will not really be able to comment on that very well. No, I'm an avid gamer too. You can see my Steam icon. So after Excel and PowerPoint, before Google Chrome, I have a Steam icon. So, you know, but anyway. So Vivek, I'll do the waterfall chart tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll be covering charts in detail, right? So don't worry about charts for now. Excellent. Okay, so you asked me, I told you. Let's do something else. I think that's enough for today. I think we've done quite a lot. We have entire day tomorrow. So tomorrow's agenda is we will start the day fresh with Power Query, because I don't want to leave Power Query for the end of the day when all of you are tired. I want it to be very fresh when you're doing Power Query. So we'll work on Power Query. Just to show you what Power Query is, in data, there is an entire group called Get and Transform, and this is Power Query. It uses a different language called mQuery. It is a data mashup language. It is created by Microsoft. It works only on Excel and Power BI. It doesn't work anywhere else. And if you have 5-10 minutes, just take out some time and very broadly see what Power Query is, right? The second thing we will do is charts. And the third thing we will do is Visual Basic, all right? And of course, any other small questions that you want to ask. Can I share the files of the work that we did today? I will be sharing the access to different courses with you. And in the courses, all these files will already be available. So the files that I did today, let me just see. Yeah, I can share it. No problem. I'll share it. Great. I think we can call it a day. So let me just check when is tomorrow's session. Asha, what was tomorrow's schedule? Because I believe there was some change that happened at the end.
Yes, sir. It starts by 12 o'clock in the morning.
12 o'clock, is it? Okay, sure. Okay, all right. You already have the links with you. My suggestion is that if you have any questions, just put it on a piece of paper and make sure to send it to me. So tomorrow we have 12 to 1:30, 2 to 4 p.m. and 4 to 5:30. All right. Okay. I will move this around a little bit. If it's okay with all of you, we can have a slightly longer lunch break. So we can maybe do 12 to 1:30 and then 2:30 to 4 and then whatever, 4 to 6. Is that okay, or would you like to stick to this? Would you basically, would you like a 30-minute lunch break or would you like a 1-hour lunch break? Or we can start at 11:30. That works. Is that okay for everyone? If we're starting at noon, we might as well start at 11:30.
Sir, can we get back with the schedule, because I think we will have a packed session tomorrow because we're planning on a
No
webinar.
problem. No problem. So I think, Asha, you can speak. You can let me know. I'm okay either way.
Sure.
Right. Otherwise, by default, we will stick to the schedule that we already have.
Okay. I'll just get back if there is any change in the schedule.
Sure, sure. Absolutely. Excellent. All right, everybody. Have an excellent Saturday, whatever is left of it. And I'll see you tomorrow. Right. Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.